What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ Today. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down 6 of the top pass rushers available in the 2021 NFL Draft. Let's get after it. To start the video off, I just want to again thank everybody who's been subscribing to my channel. We are now over 80 subscribers to the channel. I'm very excited about that. Mike is very excited about that as well. We couldn't be happier with that. And we've been having live streams. We had one this past Wednesday. It was awesome. We had people in the chat. So we really do appreciate the support. We're only looking to grow the channel, so stick with us, and I think we're gonna have a lot of good content on your way. And also we just want to let you know that we will be having a live chat again on Wednesday, February 3rd. We're gonna have a free giveaway. I'm going to be giving away 3 Jets Koozies. For that, you will need to like the video, and you will need to comment in the chat, the live chat, and you will also need to subscribe to the channel, which a lot of you have already done. So if you're a new listener, please subscribe and consider joining us on Wednesday. The first player we're going to be discussing is Basham Jr. He's from Wake Forest. He has he is 6'5", 285 pounds. This dude is a brick house, humongous, very, very big athlete. So we're just going to get into some of the stats here. So in 2017, he did not play. In 2018, he had 4.5 sacks, 36 solo tackles. In 2019, he had 11 sacks, 26 solo tackles, so a big jump in production. He also forced 3 fumbles. And then this past year, in a shortened pandemic season, he had 5 sacks and 1 forced fumble. So initially, when I'm looking at Basham Jr., I see a player that is a physical presence. He's big, he can move, he's strong, and he can get after the passer. 11 sacks, that's good production in college football. The thing that I wonder with him is just consistency, and I'm wondering also about his ability to speed rush, to get off the edge. This seems more of a kind of like a 3-4 defensive end to me. He's a very big guy. At 285 pounds, you don't see too many 4-3 defensive ends with that kind of size, and who are able to really make their presence felt off the edge. So for that reason, he is the 56th ranked player according to CBS in the NFL Draft. I think that sounds about right. So there is a possibility that the New York Jets could look at this guy in the early 3rd round if they do decide to take a pass rusher. In this first play that we're going to be discussing, you can see that Basham Jr. is actually on the weak side of the play here. So he is on the left side of the defensive formation. He's playing against the right tackle, and Trevor Lawrence is kind of looking left the entire way. At the very beginning of the snap, he's looking left, and the pocket starts to collapse in the middle, so he rolls to the right, and Basham is there to make the play and to clean up the play, and that's actually a good job. So he doesn't over pursue because he sees him looking left, never goes too far inside, and does maintain that contain, which is perfect. That's what you're supposed to do. So this is just a small takeaway of mine, that he is not going to be an overly aggressive guy. He is going to play his responsibility, and so that's a good thing. On this next play, I really it kind of caught me off guard here. So this play specifically reminds me a lot of the former Jet Shaun Ellis, the defensive end that we took out of Tennessee back in 2000. So he is extremely big. So I kind of mentioned that in the first segment, how Basham Jr. is an unusually big 4-3 defensive end, or at least that's what he would be if he were to play in this defense. And he really just gets into the defensive in the offensive backfield here. He's not really blocked well, but you can see that he's got a nose for the football, goes right to the ball, doesn't hesitate at all, and that's just good to see. Good instincts. And just right where he needed to be to make the play, to get the ball carrier down quickly. So the next player we're going to talk about is defensive end Chris Rumph out of Duke, 6'4", 235 pounds, and I really like the production that I see on the stats. So if you notice here, in 2018 all the way to 2019, and this year, past year 2020, every year he's jumping in sack production. Every year he's improving in his tackling. And so that's a good thing. That's what I like to see. I like to see guys who are steadily improving in their game. Even in college, it's important to see that kind of growth. So this guy is on the lighter side. He's only 235 pounds, so that's a little bit concerning right off the bat. So he's going to obviously be a lighter defensive end coming in. He's going to need to put more weight on. He cannot play defensive end at 235 pounds, so that's something that concerns me. And again, this is kind of the reason why this guy, along with Carlos Basham Jr., they're not projected inside, in the first round. These are guys that are going to be late second round picks, maybe even third round picks. So again, this is why this guy slips a little bit. When we're looking at the stats though, 3 sacks, 6.5 sacks, and 8 sacks. Again, steady production, steady improvement. I like that. Now, one thing you can't take away from this undersized defensive player is that he is a high energy guy, and he is hot for the ball here. I mean, he does an inside move, and then he just has to go through a blocker to get to the running back. So it's very impressive, his pursuit to the ball and just quick instincts to get in there and to get through these blocks very, very quickly. Again, very impressive to see from a smaller. I think this next play really showcases why I think this guy is a risk to take in the second round. He doesn't really seem to have a position, so when you watch him on this play, he's actually standing up. He's not even got his hand in the dirt. So, there's questions whether or not this guy even fits into a 4-3 defensive scheme, or if he even should be a defensive lineman, period. I had said maybe he should add, 10 to 15 pounds. Maybe he needs to keep the weight the way it is and just be a stand-up linebacker. I don't know what he should do. I'm not a professional evaluator of talent. But, when I see him here, he's playing the outside, and he plays this perfectly. I mean, he plays this little pitch play perfectly, and he gets right in there. I mean, it's really good instincts and really good pursuit of the ball. So, again, is he a pass rusher? I don't know. He doesn't look like it on this play, though, to me. This next player we're going to be discussing is Hamilcar Rashed Jr. He is a 6'4", 235-pound defensive end from Oregon State. He was the 53rd ranked player overall, according to CBS Sports. So when we look at the stats here, this is something I do not... Well, it's good and it's bad. So when you see a player who's got absolute high ceiling potential, this dude had 14 sacks in 2019. Crazy statistics, crazy production, but then you see the two valleys on the outsides. You see the 0 sacks in 2020. Yes, he had injuries this year, but he also had very inconsistent play, obviously. And then back in 2018, only 2.5 sacks. So are you getting a player that's potentially a Pro Bowler in the NFL who's going to get sacks, double digits every year? I don't think so. I don't see that with this guy. I see someone more in the middle, not necessarily going to be, a nobody, but not necessarily going to be lighting up the NFL. But again, you can't really ignore the production that he had in 2019, and that's why he is ranked where he is. So this first play is to showcase exactly what this guy is known for, which is a great first step. So any good pass rusher, they need to be able to have moves, pass rushing moves to get off of blocks. That's extremely, extremely important. But something that separates great pass rushers from the good pass rushers would be their first step. So if this guy can get off quickly and give himself an advantage, but with an angle of pursuit at the quarterback or the running backs, this is what makes a great pass rusher. So again, I don't know if this guy is going to become anybody in the NFL, but again, when you watch things like this, they stand out. This guy stands out on this play, having completely ruined the offense's play. And so again, is this a guy that could be a situational pass rusher in the NFL? Maybe that's his ceiling. And if that's the case, that's still valuable. That's somebody that you can put in to get up the field quickly and to get after the quarterback. Again, something very interesting to think about when you consider that we have Quinnen Williams, Jonathan Franklin Myers also rushing the passer on the inside. So could be an interesting pick. I'm not sure what the Jets will do if they have any interest in somebody like this, but could be interesting. So this is also a very, very interesting play. We do need to keep note here. It's 1st and 10. And they actually line this guy up inside over the guard in the center, which I think is very interesting for somebody who is only 235 pounds. I guess in the college game is a little bit different. You can kind of move them wherever you want. But he's right over the center in the guard, and he completely blows this play up. There were other defenders in the backfield as well. He's the first to the ball though, and he gets right through the line and gets right into the backfield and makes a big play. So yeah, looks good. Again, I'm just not sure he's going to be able to do that at the NFL level, lining up between center and guard. That just doesn't seem like a good matchup for him. The next player we're going to showcase is Quincy Roche. He is the 48th player overall according to CBS in the NFL draft. He is at 6'3", 245 pounds. He plays at Miami. And we can look at the stats here. 2017, he played 4 full years in college. And the sack production is fairly consistent. It's kind of nice to see. Not necessarily a completely pointing trajectory going up, but you do see that he does stay kind of in the ballpark of about 5 to 7 sacks at least in every season. So that's good. So sack production goes 7, 6, all the way up to 13 in 2019, and then back down to 4.5. We can see that now. There's been, a couple players on this video where the production really dropped off from 2019 to 2020. I don't think it's fair to blame the situation on the decline in play. I don't think that's really fair to think about that, because we've seen other college players that have performed from 2019 to 2020. So I don't think it's fair to point to that, but it's just something to consider that, he's down this year, and so have a couple of other players. Is he more of the player that he was back in 2019, or is he more of the player kind of in between, the 5 to 7 sacks? Is he more of that kind of player? So interesting look. So this actually is a fantastic play to watch here. So Quincy Roche, he really uses his hands fantastically here. You can see the left tackle was already kind of reaching before he had engaged, but he just very quickly does like a hand slap move, gets his hands off of him extremely easy. I mean, he gets around that guy like he's nothing, and he's able to get a hit onto Trevor Lawrence, which is great. Great to see. He doesn't get the sack, but again, that's not the issue here. The play, he's making a play by hitting the quarterback. That's something that counts in the NFL. People track those kind of stats, and there's a reason for it, because they're impacting the play. So this is actually Quincy Roche at Temple. So he was a transfer. He transferred from Temple to the Miami Hurricanes. And again, I thought it was super weird, because I was looking for, film on all these guys on the internet, and I found 2 plays of Quincy Roche, and they look identical. It is so weird. I want you guys to look. I want you to go back and rewatch the last play and watch this play again. Literally, the left tackle is doing the exact same damn thing that he was doing in the last one, and Quincy Roche still doesn't get a sack. He hits the quarterback. Again, it's literally identical. It's very, very strange. But again, great use of hands. He's getting off the edge really nicely here, so I'm actually a big fan of Quincy Roche. He's the 48th projected player in the NFL draft. I'm very interested in looking at him if we trade back in the second round, or if he's available with our first third-round pick. The next prospect that we're going to be discussing is Patrick Jones II from Pitt. He is 6'5", 260 pounds, and actually he is probably my favorite match for the New York Jets. I think that he would be a fantastic fit for the scheme. I think he has the size. I think that he has the production, and I'm going to go over all of those points with you right now. So again, this guy has speed. He can get off the edge. And one of the things that I had talked about earlier in the video was I like to see steady growth and steady production, and so we see that with him. So he starts out with only playing just limited snaps. He gets a half sack his first year in college football. Then he improves, gets to 3.5 sacks, takes it a step further, gets to 8.5 sacks, and then his final year in college football, 9 sacks. Really good production. He also had 4 forced fumbles, I should say, back in 2019. So this is a guy that's going to be making some plays on game day in the NFL, in my opinion. I've watched some of his plays, and I'm going to show them for you. I'm looking at this guy because he is, as right now, he is ranked as the 31st best player in the NFL draft for the 2021 draft, according to CBS. And I think that would be a great fit. It's somebody that I think that Joe Douglas will consider at the 23rd overall pick. And he could very well be there in the second round, and I would absolutely be, interested in taking him if he's available. Something to note, if we do keep our 2 first-round picks, I do prefer a different position with that first overall pick, with the 23rd overall pick. I would prefer to potentially get a receiver or a offensive lineman. But again, it just kind of depends on what we do at the number 2 overall pick. If we do end up taking a quarterback like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, as big of a need as pass rusher is, I think they may decide to try to support the quarterback. And so I don't know if we can actually take a defender at that 23rd overall pick if we end up taking a quarterback. This first play we're going to be showcasing, he actually almost deflects the ball first, so he's getting upfield quickly, and then he shows tremendous hustle and pursuit to the ball, and he also forces a fumble. So this play really does have a lot of factors in it. It's showing a bunch of different traits that you want in your outside defensive end position. So again, he never really quits on the play. It would have been nice to see him initially, right after the ball had gotten past him, if he had just kind of whipped around and took off towards the ball. But he kind of turns his head, it's not really jogging, well, sort of jogging. So maybe, the hustle needs to be there. And Robert Saleh and our defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, maybe they will need to coach that a little bit into him, is to have a hair on fire kind of mentality. It would have been really nice because he could have potentially dragged this guy down for a couple yard loss. An underrated aspect of a good defensive end in the 4-3 is being able to have counter moves. You do not just want to be able to rush off the edge. The offensive tackle will be able to pick up on a pattern like that. If you're only edge rushing somebody, they're never really going to buy or bite on an inside move, and you have to have that as a really good pass rusher. If anybody knows who Dwight Freeney is, he was always known for his vicious edge rushes, but then his killer counter move, which was the spin move. Now, again, we don't see that with this guy necessarily on this play, but he has an inside rush move. He has a move that he can go to if he can see that the offensive tackle is putting too much weight on that right side. He can just kind of push his way in on the inside, and we need to see that from our 4-3 defensive end. He needs to be able to have multiple ways to attack the quarterback. And the last player, yes, the last player, went fast. We were having fun. So the last player that we're going to talk about is Gregory Rousseau, who is 6'7", 265-pound defensive end out of Miami. I do have concerns with him. First of all, he is the 14th ranked player overall, according to CBS.com. So let me just say, I'm a little bit concerned about this. So we see the massive production. I mean, he has the highest number of sacks in any season of any of these edge rushers that are available in the draft. 15 and a half sacks, 2 forced fumbles back in 2019. And honestly, when you think about him opting out of the 2020 season, I think that it was a missed opportunity there. So yeah, of course he's trying to protect his draft status there. He was obviously dominant. But we've seen other college football players on this list that had high numbers, 13, 14 sacks, and it hurt their draft status. But, this guy could have truly solidified himself as a top 10 pick, and I don't know if he's in that range. He's certainly close. But again, I kind of worried, he's only had 1 year of college football. Maybe this guy has some durability things that we don't know about. Maybe this guy may not be a consistent player year to year. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to see before you draft somebody in the first round. So it makes me very nervous. Kind of reminds me of a Quentin Coples. He's not nearly as big as Quentin Coples was, but just kind of like that, big pop of a year. I kind of worry about somebody who hasn't really shown it over the longer career in college football. So that's my concern. And on this play, we see that Gregory he's lining up inside on a 3rd and long situation. I do like the idea of having that versatility of being able to move defensive ends on the inside to be able to pass rush. The New York Giants did this when they beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. They used to move, Justin Tuck, Jason Pierre-Paul, and they had this famous NASCAR formation, they used to call it, and they would have 4 defensive linemen on the field. Anyway, it's nice to see that he has some versatility, can line up on the inside, and can use some interior some inside moves to get after the quarterback. And on this final play that we're going to be watching of Gregory, we can see that he's using his hands very nicely to get off the edge. Really good pass rush move, gets a forced fumble as well, which is a great thing. You want your defensive ends to be able to strip sack the quarterback, so it's a really good move and a really good rep for him. So one thing that I am a little bit concerned though is he's way too happy in this picture. This guy does not look like he eats quarterbacks for breakfast, so a little disappointing. That's going to do it for this episode of MYJ Today. I hope you've enjoyed the content. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about the pass rushers that are available in the 2021 NFL Draft. Please do like this video, and also please leave me a comment in the comments section. I want to hear what you guys think. Which players do you not want us to draft in the 2021 NFL Draft? Which players would you love out of these 6 players that I mentioned? Or you can even list one that maybe wasn't talked about in this video. But get after me in the comments regardless. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. There are uploads happening all the time. And I would also like to just throw out there that, again, on Wednesday, we will be having our 3rd episode of the live podcast series. Mike will be coming over. We'll be having a beer, and we really want you guys to come out and have a good time with us. We're going to be talking football, and so again, free giveaway koozies are going to be given out to people who are liking, chatting, and who are subscribed to the channel on Wednesday night. I hope you all have a good night. I will see you guys. Have a great weekend. Go Jets. See you next time.